The more that I started to dive deep into loving all of me, including the crazy and the wild, I started to become an inspiration for others to activate their full expression. Looking at ourselves in pain and suffering, you've got to love all of it. There's going to be some crappy stuff, but guess what? You get to love that too. Coming from my past, it was just natural that I was going to have highs and lows. That's part of the journey, is to have lows. We can't just know how to love ourselves straight away. We have to actually start the baby steps. There's something that you know that is an act of self-love that you can do for yourself right now. Go and do it. You're the only person that's going to break the cycle. You're the only person that can do it for you. And when you become your best friend instead of your enemy, then worlds will shift. Welcome to podcast number 4 with Alana G, the Uncapped Potential. Today, I'm going to speak about full expression, loving yourself through all of it, allowing yourself to have the highs and lows, and knowing that you are literally everything. So loving yourself with every version of you that exists. Struggling with who I was at a young age, but knowing that I wanted to be... I don't know where I'm going to start with it. Hey guys, welcome to podcast number 4 of the Uncapped Potential. This is your host, Alana G. Loving yourself regardless of what's happening in your life, and just totally embracing your full expression, the highs, the lows, all of it. I've learned to super love myself these days, even when I really don't want to love myself, because you're battling with fear or uncomfortability. And yet that's all part of the journey, is to totally embrace yourself and love yourself for everything, because you are not designed to be perfect. You're designed to be perfectly imperfect. And who you are, and it is just magical. If you were any one of my team members or people that work with me or know me, they would probably tell you that I'm embodied in my full expression. I am fearless in getting naked. I'm fearless in showing up. I'd show up, but yet I've come from a background where I was actually very insecure. I was extremely in my head around everything. When we look at evolution and how to grow, love is super important, especially self-love. It's like this first step to really alchemizing, which means neutralizing any energetics around who you are to become. The reason that you're maybe on that journey is because you actually want to step into your potentiality and who you truly are, who you can be. Like, you can become anyone, you can achieve anything. And yet, we find ourselves in our head at times. And for me, I went on a massive roller coaster ride throughout my life with, suicidal thoughts and depression, self-judgment. I didn't really fit in my world. I didn't fit in the conformism of going to school, going to university, and doing any normal kind of pathway that society would have you. And my mum did not appreciate that at all. And so it was really hard for myself to love myself. I was constantly in my head analyzing everything and making it wrong, making myself wrong. And there's no one outside of me that can tell me how to love myself. They can tell me all the reflections of myself and how great or good I'm being, but until I embodied that lesson myself, things didn't really shift for me. I found myself very scared to live. I was numbing myself with drugs and alcohol, and I wasn't really living the life that I was designed to live. I wasn't embracing that I was flawed. And coming from my past, it was just natural that I was going to have highs and lows. That's part of the journey, is to have lows. And yet I was casting so much judgment towards it that I was actually creating more of it within myself. So to activate my fullest expression, it really just came about a decision that I made to embrace who I was and just to see if that worked, right? Like, what if I can just become who I am, who I already am? I know that within me that I have this soul that wants to be joy and happy and love and fun. I loved community. I loved people. But I was so afraid and I wasn't loving myself that I wasn't actually getting to experience what it felt like to be in the world with self-love. And the more that I started to dive deep into loving all of me, including the crazy and the wild, I started to become an inspiration for others to activate their full expression. And a lot of my tribe would say that I am one fully expressed being these days and I'm embodied. And I really just learned that had to come with choosing to look at the words that were coming out, look at what I was saying to myself and changing it. And also there were other tools that I took on, like writing notes on my mirror to remind myself 10 things that I'm great, that I love about myself. I also did a letter for love, self-love, and I apologized to myself and the vibration of love of what I had made it mean about me. I actually put myself in a bathtub. I went out and got roses and all these rose petals, and I set the intention because I had that magical experience with writing a letter to money that I decided, oh, what if I did this around love? Like actually about 3 years ago, I still really thought I was ugly, like absolutely on my internal voice was telling me that I was not a very good looking human being. And that was making me in situations like getting ready to go out with my girlfriends have so much fear and anxiety and it was torturous what I was doing to myself. So I decided to have this bath with myself and what I'd given meaning to love and self-love by going and picking up these rose petals and taking them home, putting them in the bath, lying in the bath, setting the intention to heal this part of me. Like, what was it within me that was just choosing over and over again to be so nasty to myself? And I wrote a letter apologizing to love for looking at it like it had abandoned me. When it hadn't abandoned me, love is always infinite. It's everywhere. But I had to do this healing part of my journey to embody self-love within me. And I don't know, in these moments, like I can't give you the exact reasons why they work. I can only just give you the example of that it did. And I think this is what quantum healing and healing modalities is all about, is the unseen. You don't know what's there, but when you go there and you give yourself that time to make peace with yourself, you can come into new worlds of yourself, essentially. So I did this bath, cried like a baby, cried a lot, and something shifted, something magical happened. And parts of the journey onto that bathtub was witnessing myself in my voice, my internal voice, like when you're driving and you're speaking to yourself. This one time I was at a coffee shop and I caught up with a friend and I offered to buy her a coffee and she said, I don't drink coffee, you should know that. And I went after that meeting on to sit for a whole 15, 20 minutes in the car. Like, I can't believe you didn't remember that. Like, I was saying this stuff to myself, like beating myself up about doing something kind, offering a coffee because I didn't get it right that she didn't drink coffee and she drinks tea. Like, wild. But I was sitting there in this anxiety of this decision I made that was already a really positive one in the first place. And she was already on her merry way, living her life, not even thinking about it. And here I was perpetuating the situation in my mind and not loving on myself, just actually saying really horrible things to myself and making it worse. And when I brought awareness to that voice, I was like, holy shit, like what am I saying to myself? I need to change this narrative and start to love myself. And so I've really embraced that concept, and I celebrate myself. I look after my body. I fuel it with really good water. I have organic foods. I do prayer. And every part of that is a part of self-love so that I can be my fullest expression self. So when I'm out and I'm being wild, because I am wild, and I'm being a bit crazy and rah, I love that part of me. I've got to love that part of me. It exists. And when I'm in my bed needing to time out and rest and wanting to just watch Netflix, and it happens sometimes because I am human, I love myself in that. And I can move through these parts of me with so much more grace and ease and flow because I'm not resisting it. And when I'm not resisting it, I'm not creating more of it. It brings me sadness to think that people don't love themselves, because I feel the pain of what that felt like. I know what that felt like. It hurt. It hurt me a lot, and is such a pain that I don't wish anyone to live with. And all I can gift forward is that we are all so magnificently different and beautiful, and it doesn't come with ease like everything that we do. We can't just know how to love ourselves straight away. Like, we have to actually start the baby steps to loving ourselves. And if we need visual reminders, having those visual reminders, if we need to get up in the morning and write 10 things that we're grateful about ourselves, we've just got to retrain ourselves to make that normal, we got to allow ourselves to receive the beauty that we are and open ourselves to witnessing what exists within us, because it all exists within us. So if we're looking at ourselves in the pain and the suffering or the what we don't have, sure, that's there, maybe. But also there's the polarity side of that. There's another whole side to that. What else is there? Because it's all there. So you've got to love all of it. Yes, there's going to be some crappy stuff, but guess what? You get to love that too. And if that exists, then the opposite of that exists. So what is the opposite of that? And where is that within you? Where can you find that? Where can you bring focus to that? And yeah, I wish it was like taking a pill and it was done, but it's not that way. It's a commitment. It's a commitment to your journey. It's a commitment to yourself. It's a commitment to your evolution of your potentiality. We go back to that again. It's like, well, if I haven't done that yet, maybe I should try that now. Give that a go and start to rewire the brain to look at the other things that exist within us. And when we're hard on ourselves, when we're in the, suicidal phases, because I'm going to use that because that's resembles to my story, the depths of the pain that I've been in. When we go to those places, like, how can we love ourselves in that space and not make it mean too much? Like, just love ourselves in that space and not give it so much weight that it takes us off course to where we're going, which I did for a really long time. I would make it mean that I must be fucked up, right? That I'm mentally unstable, that I should be scared of myself. When someone said to me, to love that version of you, all I've ever done right, I feel, is to listen and then go and give it a go and give it an embodiment piece. Like, I go, okay, don't resist it. So the last time that came up for me, I was able to hold myself in it, and that it moved quicker. When I used to look at it, when I used to go through those times where I, that was part of my journey, I would like resist it so much and fight it so much that it felt like it lasted days and weeks. And now it's like, it's becoming faster in the transition of, instead of hating on it, I'm loving on it. So then it's like, oh, okay, cool. I feel safe to exist here. And now I'll let you be the other parts of you now too. I just want to inspire anyone that is listening that isn't feeling that way about themselves, that you can do this and that you are magical. Everyone is just so beautiful and everyone is so unique. Like, I'm even learning to love people's bodies at this present time, going into my late 30s. Like, things start to shift in your body, and but the way that I start to love on myself is I start to love it in others first, and I look at these beautiful mummy bellies and women that, and they're getting loved by other people. Like, they're loved. So, of course, then I can be loved with who I am. And so when I love them, then I start loving myself as well. Um, and that seems to be really working wonders, going through this transition of, just even physical changes. I think a lot of the concepts of when you're so hard on yourself come from your conditioning and the way that you've thought, that you were trained to perceive the world. And it's just rewriting that so that you can actually just let go and fucking have fun and be crazy and be weird. And why not just go try it out? Like, coming on this podcast has been quite scary in a way. It's also been liberating, and I'm excited to see where it goes. But the only way that I could experience is it by experiencing it. And I'm just going to have to love myself because I made lots of mistakes and I wasn't perfect. And I bet there's someone out there that's listening to this that's going to get a reflection or an insight or be inspired. And I'm going to get that one message back about that. And that's going to freaking, just show me that me showing up for me is working. And that's all I can do, is I can only do the work for me, which then shifts everything for everyone else. I'm going to give 3 simple tasks that I really encourage you to start today that really transformed my life and also just my whole existence in business and everything as well. Gratitude, again, you probably heard it, but start to implement today. Wake up, 10 gratitudes. And then you'll start doing 10 gratitudes randomly through the day. And then at dinner time with your friends, like, see how much you can bring what you're thankful for into the now. On the mirror, write 10 things you love about yourself. And every time you look in that mirror, write 10 things that you love about yourself. Like, say it out loud, speak it to yourself. Don't need to write it because it's in the mirror. So write 10 things on the mirror that you love about yourself and say them to yourself. If you have to force it, just start somewhere. Look at your 10 fingers. If you've got 10 fingers, you better be grateful for it. If you've got 2 feet that are walking you around this earth, you better be grateful for it. I'm sure you're smiling right now while I'm saying it. Be grateful for that smile. And that's how you start, simple. And then it gets bigger, like, oh my God, I'm so grateful I showed up on the podcast today. I love that you're courageous, Alana. You are doing amazing. Let's get into that habit. I do it with my daughter as well because they're little mirrors. You don't want them to feel the pain. You don't want them to suffer. You don't want them to think the things about themselves that you thought about yourself. And the only way that you can shift that is by doing it firstly yourself, and then you can imprint that down. And 3 would be looking at, the practicalities of how you treat yourself and the standard that you hold for yourself. So waking up and making sure that you're fueling your body with something deliciously nutritious, because that does help our physical form feel, or, going and being in the sun, lie down in the sun and soak it up. I know I used to struggle so many times to actually get out of my bedroom and do the things that are an act of self-love because I was already in the cycle, in the depths of my pain and my shame and my guilt. It's really easy to get stuck in a cycle and repeat the same day or patterns or behaviors. And an act of self-love is courage to break that and to go and do something new, and not new because we already know what's good for us. We know that the sun is good for us. We know that drinking really good water is good for us. We know that organic food or good high vibe food is good for us. Are we willing to go and choose that for ourselves today? Are we going to choose that for ourselves right now? While you've listened to this podcast, there's something that that is an act of self-love that you can do for yourself right now. So go and do it. Go and be in the sun, be in meditation, go to church, whatever it is that you need, that that you're resisting. You're the only person that's going to break the cycle. You're the only person that can do it for you. And when you become your best friend instead of your enemy, then worlds will shift. So, rock stars, I am very new to podcasts. So, please follow me if you're loving this. Give us some feedback. Give us some love so that I can embrace that. And if you want to find out more, you can follow me on all my social medias. Reach out. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. And yeah, looking forward to hearing from you and sharing more with you over this journey of my own evolution. So lots of love and peace. Alana G.